Hey, good Tuesday morning, my friends. I'm Live Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa here with the MLive Morning Weather Update. By the way, what I normally do is I'll let the social team know to push the notification out. I start streaming about 30 seconds after that. Then I usually see the notification go out maybe 30 seconds after that. Then I monitor the chat section on YouTube, and when I see the number jump, I know that people have gotten the notification. So that's what it's all about. I don't know if there's any better way. I was toying this morning with starting to talk to you just informally like this while others join in. So here we go. Now they have joined in. So this is the MLive Morning Weather Update. There's a lot to get to. You know, nothing that's a real big red flag, but we'll get to it here. Carmelita Tiffany says, yeah, the glorious weather wouldn't last. That's for sure, but there's more of it. All right, let's go to it here. Oh, and you know what? By the way, I'm not sure about this. I got to talk to about 2 or 3 of my fellow meteorologists around the state, but I had this thought this morning that I am the most long-time meteorologist in Michigan now. I started in Michigan in early October of '92 is what I figured. All right, so here we go. The pink. That's a winter storm warning. Northeast part of lower Michigan from Petoskey to Sheboygan to Alpena. Winter storm warning for 4 to 8 inches of snow and 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice. So a real mess there. That's middle of the night tonight to tomorrow afternoon and evening. The purple, winter weather advisory for 1/10 of an inch of freezing rain overnight tonight, ending and then melting off. The gray in the thumb and down through the north side of Detroit, dense fog advisory, and then also the UP under winter storm warning for much of it. That is for pretty much heavy snow. All right, so here we go. So you kind of know where the warnings and advisories are going, and you hear the nastiest weather word, freezing rain, and you had that historic ice storm in the north. And it's not that. Amy Z, did you start with 7 and 4? Yes, I did. In fact, I came from Iowa. Cedar Rapids was my first TV job, and that was my only 2 years, by the way, living off of a Great Lake within several miles of me in my entire life. North side of Chicago, Cedar Rapids, Traverse City, Saginaw, Green Bay, Traverse City, Saginaw, all that stuff. So yes. All right. So here we go on the radar. Today is a great travel day. After the fog burns off in the thumb. Yes, I believe that Bill Steffen is officially retired, and that's why I'm thinking that it could be me. Could be J.R. Kurtek at WJRT in Flint. He started it at Channel 12 a little bit before I started at TV5, but I don't know if he had been in Michigan for a year or two before that. And it also could be, oh shoot, now my brain's, could be Kevin Craig. I'd have to talk to him. So let's get to the weather here. This is 10 o'clock tonight, 11 midnight. So Muskegon, Ludington, Manistee, Traverse City, Grand Rapids, you all get rain to start, not freezing rain. Amy watched me as just a kid. And let's see, This is the middle of the night, so this is 3 a.m. So what's going to happen is the rain comes in, it hits the colder ground around Clare, Big Rapids, Houghton Lake, turns into freezing rain, kind of hangs there in the early morning hours, and then as the warmer air pushes in, it kind of pushes the freezing rain out. Now this is noon Wednesday. Everything comes to an end in the afternoon for most of lower Michigan. And see, I told you, everybody tries to call me when I go live. Hey, Mark's live, let's call him. And then it winds down. Okay, so this should give you a good feel that in the northeast, it's going to be a mess tomorrow morning, and then it'll wind down. Probably not improve dramatically, but could improve some. So let's start with the easy one, the snowfall. It's not a snow for Traverse City, but you know, the shoreline from Rogers City to Mackinac City, 4 to 8 inches. That's why the winter storm warning in effect. And then just south of that, a couple of inches of snow in the northeast. But Saginaw, Bay City, Grand Rapids, Traverse City, Cadillac, Manistee, southward, no snow. And yes, look at the UP, up to a foot of snow there. Now freezing rain. And this is the forecast off of the National Weather Service. So, remember, the major ice storm, I had a few people that were nervous, and rightly so. Is this another one of those from late March? No. That had an accumulation of ice of 3/4 of an inch to some places an inch or maybe a little more. This is 1/10 to 2/10. Clare, Houghton Lake, Roscommon, Mansalona, Charlevoix maybe, over to the Tawas area, and then it could melt off in some of those places. So it's not really, it won't be called an ice storm. Now, total precipitation, as far as liquid, nice rain for the thumb and for southern lower Michigan. We'll take 4-5 of an inch at this time of the year. Yeah, the ground is frozen. Some of it runs off, but it all helps. Okay, so now we've kind of covered this storm system, and what you should get out of this is you should get, avoid driving in the northeast quarter of lower Michigan tomorrow morning into noon or so. Then things should improve as the precipitation comes to an end, at least on the major roadways. The UP will stay as a snowstorm pretty much all day tomorrow. Now, what's going on? Big picture. This is the stuff you don't get on TV, right? You don't get it anywhere but here. What's going on? We have 3 or 4 significant storm systems. They all appear to be taking a little bit of a warm track. You have to get this down for March. The center of the storm, the L, that's the very lowest pressure center. And what that means is we track that because we peg all of the different zones of weather off of that. When the red L, the center of the storm, tracks to your north, you're going to be mostly in rain. When it tracks to your south by 60, 100 miles, you're going to be mostly in snow. When it tracks near you, you can be in the freezing rain. So that's what we're going to look at now is the long-term, next 16 days or so. Let's see what we got. If we have some temperatures, questions here. Okay. All right. So here's our storm system for tomorrow. And note the storm center is back in western Wisconsin. And then we talked about a second storm already by Friday. It looked colder. Today it looks warmer. We'll look at it a little closer. So it looks kind of like the same version only shifted north a little bit. It's heavy snow in the western UP, the freezing rain in the eastern UP, and rain for most of lower. But then the colder air does come in, and I do not want to lead you astray that winter is not still here, but by the weekend we'll turn back to winter, we'll turn back to snow showers on a northwest wind, and then 30 degrees will feel like the coldest day ever. It's weird how the body adjusts, but note that the next storm already hitting the west coast, and by the time we get to late Tuesday, the wind already turns out of the southeast ahead of the next storm system. And here it is already by Wednesday. Look very similar? Yes, it does. Snow to freezing rain for an hour to rain in the southern 2/3 of lower Michigan, and then behind it, a little bit colder. Now, the next storm after that, we start to doubt if the exact details are there, but we keep an eye on these things. And the point is, we are in a very active storm track, but they appear to be mostly tracking to our north and mostly rain for lower Michigan. Here's another closer look. So this is the storm tomorrow. There's your little freezing rain zone in the pink tomorrow morning. And then it shifts out and things come to an end. And then Thursday looks like a decent day for travel. Then Friday looks like a rain. And we get through the weekend and it looks like snow showers. Watch these temperatures. Michigan is very interesting to me in weather. It's actually, for me, the perfect place for me to have lived and had my career, because it's got a little something of everything. And every meteorologist is different. Like when I started in Cedar Rapids, you got to be ready for quite a bit of severe weather. Back in those days, the tornado alley has shifted, but back in those days, mid-April to July 1st, you might have 10, 20, 30 days where you're up late at night working constantly, and you might get 3 or 4 or 5 snowstorms a year. Other meteorologists are interested in the severe weather of the south. Others are interested in pure snowstorms. I kind of like a mix of everything. I don't like the stuff, but that's why we got into meteorology, is because it's interesting. Now, where I'm going with this is, look at the interesting temperature pattern. And it makes it doesn't make it difficult for us to forecast. It makes it difficult for us to convey what's going to happen on a hyper-local manner, okay? Good morning, Richard from Mason. So today, you can get wind off of Lake Erie, and Detroit and Ann Arbor can be chilly. You can go west to 10 or 20 miles, and you can get into 55-degree air. But generally, it's warmer than normal. Normal now still is, 30 north to 35 south. Look at tomorrow. This is what a March storm looks like. North of the warm front, wind off of Lake Huron, you're stuck in the 30s. But note that Traverse City, you make it to near 40, so anything would be all rain. Or if you had a brief period of ice, it would melt off. But you could see that Alpena and Rogers City and Sheboygan and Petoskey, you may have a tough time melting off. Well, you might want to, just wear a light jacket in Ann Arbor and Detroit and Kalamazoo tomorrow. Thursday, same kind of wacky temperature pattern. Warmth creeping up the coastline. Manistee might come close to 60 degrees. Other places are only in the 30s. Here's Friday. So a storm system with temperatures in the upper 30s and 40s is going to be mostly all rain. Then, like I said, I don't want to lead you astray. We're back to winter for the weekend. Not Arctic, but back to winter. Look for temperatures to struggle to hit 30 degrees in most places, upper 20s in Traverse City, and Monday could be even colder. Look for it to feel like winter and go, oh, rats. And then look what happens. It comes right back to temperatures in the 40s and all over the place next week. And let's just find a fun one. We go out to March 2nd and we go from 60s to 30s. My friends, that is what March is all about. Now, I want to remind you that one thing we get to do here is we get to look long range when others have run out of time to give you weather, okay? So, by the way, what's your favorite easy to find, easy to afford coffee? You know, I'm a fairly young, short coffee drinker. I think maybe 3 or 4 years now. And my friends started me on Folgers. I tend to like the dark stuff. I don't like all the junk in it, the cream and whatnot. But what's your favorite unsung coffee, you know, that I can find? I don't want to have to drive 100 miles and spend whatever. What's your favorite? Okay, so what we're going to look at now is we're going to look at the European model. It's a very good model, but we're going to look at the ensemble. So 51 tweaks of it averaged together. What you'll see is the cold air early next week. And even though our day-to-day model run of the European showed another one later on, the ensemble shows a different story out into the long term. So what you're looking at here is the temperatures just off the surface and the anomalies. And obviously when you see this color, we are way warmer than normal. Amy Z, yes, false spring. I like to call it pre-spring. But it's spring. It's spring trying is what it is. Now we're into Thursday and we're into Friday. And I told you the weekend, the colder air comes back. There it is. It makes it all the way into the deep south. Not like the freeze that hit the Florida citrus crop. But this is next Monday and Tuesday. Drops in and look how quickly it erodes away. By next Wednesday and Thursday, we're back to normal, near normal. Oh, Lisa Collins says Pacific Bold at Costco. Okay. Tony Crino says try Kalamazoo coffee. Backpackers is a good medium roast with no fancy flavors. Okay. Kalamazoo coffee. Where do I get that? Other than Kalamazoo, I guess. Folgers is the go-to for Carmelita. So now we're into the end of next week, and notice that we're trending just slightly warmer than normal. This will be like 5 degrees warmer than normal. We're into March 4th now. So what this is showing is that, you know, we may just have one more cold outbreak. And I got to tell you, I showed you this yesterday in the long-term average high temperatures. From here forward, the sunshine gains power. We know it's winter, but the sunshine gains power. We know March is cruel. We know a northeast wind comes off of Grand Traverse Bay or Saginaw Bay or Lake Huron, or a west wind comes off of Lake Michigan. All of a sudden, temperatures go from 50 to 30 and you're frozen. But in the long term, it looks like we are trying to head toward, dare I say it, I'll have to probably go in hiding, in early spring. I don't know what spring is to you. There is no official definition of this is spring weather has arrived, this is it. It's kind of a nebulous area that we float through. But it looks like we're heading toward an early spring. There you go. You heard it from me. I went out on a limb, and I know the first flake of snow in March, I will catch you know what. Oh well, I'm used to it. Take care. Thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care. Bye.